certainly was a memorable and a historic snow year in terms of the snowfall we had, but in terms of the actual course conditions, we sort of call it a down the middle snow year. The mosquito fire exposed 16 miles of exposure. Given the heat or the lack of heat, we actually had terrific trail conditions. Let me know if do I need to move a little closer. We had terrific trail conditions. We tied the highest number of finishers ever in Western States history. The biggest story this year in our 50th was our women's field. We had a mind-boggling performance with our winner in a record of 15:29. We had our top two women who broke the previous course record at 16:47, Ellie Greenwood's record that held for 11 years. And we had 3 of our top finishers ran the 4 fastest all-time women's times at the race. We also had the fastest top 10 women's in the history of the race. So we had our first European male winner since Kilian Jornet, and we had the highest placed Chinese finisher in the history of the race in 4th place. 10 grouping in the history of the race as well. This made the race one of our most competitive fields in the history of Western States. So as we for their tremendous sport, and I'd like to start with a big round of applause for Hoka. Not only is Hoka an enormous supporter of the race, they're an enormous supporter of our live broadcast. Our live broadcast reached over 500,000 people around the world in over 100 countries. The inspiration of every one of your stories was delivered to people around the world, and it was just remarkable. Thank you to Billy Yang, to all of our commentators and volunteers, our drone operators. It was just an incredible effort. And a special thanks to Hoka, to Goodr, and to Start for their support of our live broadcast. Our race sponsors, Hoka, Goo Energy, Strava, Buff, Inside Tracker, Goodr, Add-A-Day, Start, Stoked Oats, Ultra Running, SFVC, Brazen Racing, The Active Joe, M45 Automotive, DryMax Sports, Comcast Heritage with these beautiful buckles in front of you, Monsters of Massage, SacFit, Sunto Vespa, Squirrels Nut Butter, The Aid Station, Fleet Feet, Sacramento, Phoenix Lighting, San Francisco Running Company, and Ultimate Directions. Big round of applause. And finally, a thanks to all of our trail partners. Auburn State Recreation Area, the U.S. Forest Service, the American River Ranger District, Tahoe National Forest, our Western States store powered by Fleet Feet, ultralive.net, and the UTMB World Series for their partnership. Thank you.
All right, before we get into the awards, we wanted to introduce a special guest here, someone that supports the race from the city, is also a runner. I run into her in the canyon all the time. Our mayor, excuse me, Alice Dowden Calvillo.
Thanks. Thank you, Tim. Hi, everyone. I'm Alice Dowden Calvillo, honored to be the mayor of the city of Auburn. Auburn, the endurance capital of the world. Let's give it up for Auburn! I have to do that. I am actually a retired endurance athlete. I actually was on the trail on a horse. But I did trade my horse in for a pair of running shoes. I do see Tim out there regularly. I live right off of the Western States Trail. So just so proud to be here today. The city of Auburn had proclaimed itself the endurance capital of the world during my second tenure on the council back in 2003. And we are just in it to win it. And I'm very proud to say that I was just authorized by my city council to travel to Chamonix this August, where we will be pursuing a friendship city status with the city of Chamonix. So we're really excited about that. Put in some good words for us. Fabrice, my friend over here, is helping me with that. So really looking forward to that. If you are there at Chamonix for UTMB and you see me, please come up and say hi. So I'd appreciate that. Again, welcome to Auburn. So congratulations to each and every one of you. Just there's so many people. The weather's cool. Can I have a show of hands for everyone that has run Western States? If you've run, didn't have to be this year, could have been any of the 50 years. This is phenomenal. Let's give everyone a round of applause. Look at all these, look, all of you. And last but not least, a very happy 50th birthday to the Western States Endurance Run. This is a phenomenal year, phenomenal results. I can't wait to meet Courtney. Where is she? In any event, thank you so much again, and let the awards begin. Tim, back to you.
Thanks, Alice. See you out on the trail. Before we go on, a couple things. We want to recognize all the crews, the aid station volunteers, and Pacers are people too. Let's give those guys a round of applause. And we had some folks that didn't make it to the finish line. We want to recognize them, but we also had two runners that didn't make the cutoff at the finish line, but yet crossed it and finished the entire 100-milers. And those two runners were Ash Bartholomew, who finished in 30 hours and 2 minutes. And Brian Hamilton, who finished in 30 hours and 25 minutes. It's not on the agenda here, but I wanted to add one more piece here after you guys had a chance to get out there yesterday. Unless you were out there in the last 3 months working on that trail, it's hard to imagine how much effort went into preparing that trail from the time the mosquito fire was put out last October till Friday night when the last trees and accesses were made to the aid station. Through Craig's leadership, the trail stewards, Forest Service, state parks, and all the people that go out there and cut trees and shovel snow and rake rocks and build walls and do the things, we need to recognize those trail people because you saw the fruits of their labor yesterday. Lastly, he's here. Let the man who is the craftsman behind those gorgeous belt buckles that everyone's going to take home today is James Stegman from Comstock Heritage, and his team was up here engraving those buckles all night. Where's James?
Thanks, congratulations, everybody, and thanks to the volunteers. We're firmly in our fourth generation making these buckles. My grandfather actually was a little disappointed that Gordy didn't finish because it was one less buckle for the ride that year, but I think it turned out okay.
All right, thanks, James. Thanks to your crew for spending all night and just etching those. All right, now to the good part. For our men and women's champions this year, to help us present those awards, let me present a past champion of Western States. She's a 3-time winner of the race and also the first woman to get a 10-year 1,000-mile buckle, Borg Austerheim Smith. She's going to help us present the trophies. Topher's already alluded to it. Of course, we decided to go with ladies first, so our women's champion for 2023 with a ridiculously eye-popping 15:29, a course record by almost an hour and 20 minutes. I told Topher when we were preparing the awards, I said, it's Courtney's world and we just live in it. Our women's champion in 2023 is Courtney DeWalter.
Board, and she needs to get her buckle and her age group swag.
Okay.
Can we? Yeah. No, those are for the age. That's for the old guys. She has a buckle over there. Is there age group swag for Courtney?
Of course, Courtney won our women's 30 to 39 age group, I think it is. But yeah, phenomenal time. It's one thing to get a course record by 10 minutes or something, but an hour and 20 is a little bit over the top. Okay, and then our men's champion in a blistering time of 14 hours, 40 minutes, and 22 seconds from Great Britain is Tom Evans.
Is there two of them? Is there only one? Okay, well, maybe we can have one of them hold the cougar and have the other one hold the trophy.
Each one of these champions will receive a cougar like Alice is holding there. And then also their names will be engraved in what is kind of our Stanley Cup of Western States. And if I could get the trophy over here. It says, worth marks the man or woman, there all the honor lies. Not content with well or better, she has raced 100 miles, the winner. So their names will be engraved on our trophy. All right, so now we will bring up the rest of the women's top 10 and the rest of the men's top 10. We'll start with the ladies. Let me get my list.
There you go. Good? All right. Yeah.
All right, let me in advance for Topher and myself, if we mispronounce your name, it's not intentional. We're going to try to get all these names right, but there's a lot of them. All right, let's get the rest of the ladies up here. In second place in a time of 16:43.45, Katie Scheid. In third place, in a time of 17:09, Esther Seelig. In fourth place, in a time of 27:21, Katie Asmuth. Now, this next part was really interesting because I think it may be the first time 6 women in a row finished in their top 10. So the next 6 finishers in the race were all women. In 17:26, we have Emily Halgood. In 1740, we have Terry Nowlin. In 1743, we have Ida Nilsson. In 1746, Priscilla Forge. Now to ninth place, in 1749, Leah Yingling. And rounding out our women's top 10 in a time of 18:11, Megan Morgan. All right, you top 10 men, if you guys could start wandering up front here. Let's bring out the men. In second place in a time of 15:04 is Tyler Green. Not far behind Tyler in 15:09 is Anthony Costellas. In fourth place, our runner from China in 15:19, Shen Zhang. In fifth place, in a time of 15:22, Daniel Jones. In seventh, in 15:37, Matthew Blanchard. In seventh, we have, in 15:38, Ryan Montgomery. In 15:42.09, Jeffrey Colt. In 15:54, our local boy, Cole Watson. And rounding out the men's top 10 in a blistering top 10, finishing up in 16:09, Janusz Kowalczyk. So if we get you guys all squished together, we'll get a picture of the men and women top 10 together. Yeah. Line them up, Keith. You guys got this? Okay? All right, let's have one more round of applause for our top 10 men and top 10 women. All right. Thanks. You guys got everything? Okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter. All right, it's time to move on to our Oldest Man and Women Finishers Award. To do that presentation, we're going to bring up Mr. Second Sunrise, John Trent.
Thanks, Tim. Boy, what an amazing group of athletes right there. My goodness. It's been a long time tradition here at Western States that we honor the race's oldest finishers, and these two awards that go to the oldest male finisher and the oldest female finisher date back to the support and the example set by Dr. Walter Bortz and his wife Ruth Ann. For many years, Wally Bortz and Ruth Ann Bortz were incredible supporters of the race. In fact, it was sort of the idea of Dr. Bortz, who he shared the thought that as you grow older, if you continue to be active and you continue to do a lot of vigorous things, you'll live a long and healthy life. And so these awards, I think, are kind of a great emblem of what Dr. Bortz, who was a world-renowned expert on longevity, what he was all about. His wife also ran this race, and for a short time was the oldest female finisher that we ever had. And then another older lady passed Ruth Ann. So it's in that spirit that we want to honor a couple of really great athletes. Last night, when I was the aid station captain at Forest Hill, we saw, unfortunately, he didn't make it all the way, but we saw Gene Dykes come through our aid station with 30 seconds to spare, and then he shot out and kept going as long as he possibly could, and we really thought like that was an incredible example of what a life well lived is all about. I mean, Gene was not going to be denied, and unfortunately, he timed out. But it showed you, no matter how old you are, and he's 75 years old, you just keep moving, and great things always come. The two athletes that we would like to honor as this year's oldest man and women finishers. Our first one is 67 years old. He's from La Mirada, California. Craig Bronstein. Craig? Here he comes. And look at how well this man is moving right now. And as you can see here, he's honored with this really lovely clock because, Craig, you and the next athlete that we're going to honor, you guys define what it means to age so well. You bet, Craig. And our oldest female finisher is a pretty oldest female finisher is a pretty familiar name. My goodness gracious! I mean, her greatest hits. It's sort of like the Beatles. She's 62 years old. She's from Jackson, Wyoming. She ran 28:52. Pam Reed, please come up here and accept your award. Of course. Okay, thank you. All right. And just real quickly to embarrass her a little bit more, so Pam, apparently you also have Badwater and Hard Rock still to come. Wow. Congratulations.
All right, now in the tradition of honoring every finisher, we're going to ask the finishers to line up on this side, so to my left, your right. And we're going to do it in time-based order. And so we're starting with Rod Farvard, who is our 11th place male finisher. So again, we're going to ask everyone that's to line up here between 16 hours and call it 20. And as you hear the clock going, we're just going to do this here. Just remember, line up on this side, and we're going to walk straight through over to this side of the tent. So to kick it off, In a time of 16:15:55, Rod Farvard. Okay, Magda. Do you, yeah, I did. Yeah, that's Rod. In a time of 16:21, Ludovic Pomeray. In a time of 16:37, Arlen Glick. In a time of 16:38:33, Jonathan Rea. Nice job. In a time of 16:40, Scott Trayer. Nice job, Scott. Right on. In a time of 16:55:22, Cody Lind. In a time of 17 hours flat, Dakota Jones. In a time of 17:15, JP Giblin. In a time of 17:23:14, Luo Tao Hua. In a time of 18:28, Adam Mary. Jenny Quilty. And our final finish under 19 hours in a time of 18:57, Christopher, 19-hour finisher in a time of 19:19, Benjamin Cook. In a time of 19:26, Jordan. In a time of 19:47, finishing her 9th Western. In a time of 19:54, Reed Brewer. 58, Stephanie Alston. (19) Tomokazu Ihara. Hans van Zanten. In a time of 20:30. In a time of 20:57, Dennis Bjork. And then the next person is a third place in the 20 to 29. Riley Brady. In a time of 21:07, Ryan Kaiser. In a time of 21:10, Christine Moser. Jad Martinez. 21:20, David Wilkins. In a time of 21:24, Ken Zemak. In a time of 21:32, Eli White. Strong. 48, Christian Balgan. In a time of 21:51, Samuel Cohen. In a time of 21:58, in a time of...
All right, picking up where Topher left off. In our 22:04 time, Filippo Canetta, one of our Italian runners. Also went 22:05, Brian Robbins. In 22 hours and 10 minutes, Will Olson. In 22:27, Tomasz Cook. In 22 hours and 41 minutes, Paul Breuer. And 22:45. In 22:45 as well, Daniel Kilgore. In 20, at the exact same time of 22:46, Nick Gonzalez. In 22:48, Maria Steinhauser. And rounding out our 22-hour finishers in 22:54, Clinton Keller.
All right, kicking off our 23-hour finishers. That's that silver buckle hour. At 23:01, Jeff Kozak. In time of 23:06, Jordi Moncada. Just a few seconds behind, 9 seconds behind to be precise, in 23:06, Brett Waters. In time of 23:08, Kyle Fulmer. In a time of 23:09. In a time of 23:12, Benjamin Atkins. In a time of 23:14, Oleg Tabelev. In a time of 23:23, Sebastian Picard. In a time of 23:23, Kyle Grady. In a time of 23:30, Isaiah Ford. 23:33:37, Orteze Pat Hastings. In a time of 23:34:20, Keith Shaw. In a time of 23:37, Zachary Bates. In a time of 23:38:31, Ryan Hamdorf. Redinger. In a time of 23:39:07, Allison Hart, Caleb Cruz. In a time of 23:40:40, in a time of 23:45, Peter Brennan. Jacob Huston. In a time of 23:48, Tim Owen. Turn. In a time of 23:52, Daniel Cohn. In a time of 23, Fisher. In a time of 23:57, Nancy Jiang.
You got me the tough name to read off the next round.
The first We're a third of the way through the list here, folks. We're pacing ourselves. Looks like our first Russian finisher, Alexander Chervyakov. In a time of 24:48, Marco Louis. In a time of 24:53, Scott Hoberg. At 24:54, Adil Lakhani. In 25:16, Valerie Renholt. In 25:24, Tyler Peter. In 25:29 is Eric Hong. In 25:33, James Keller. In 25:38, 25:44 is Sarah Rondorf. In 25 hours and 45, Kelly McDonald. And rounding.
Kicking off our 26-hour finishers at 26:02, Jamie Knott. Right behind Jamie, 9 seconds, Richard Thomason. At 26:08, Kevin Jordan. Coming 18. Stephen Foster. In time of 26:15, Jonathan Light. In a time of 26:21, Garrett Carolus. In a time of 26:26, Bill Kish. In a time of 26:29, Vincent Page. In a time of 26:34, Dan Kelly. In time of 26:30, in a time of 26:38, Todd Bertolone. In a time of 26:04, Scott Vosberg. In a time of 26:46, Martin Heimbeck. In a time of 26:50, Thomas Watson. In a time of 26:52, Nathan Dibb. In a time of 26:55, Greg Newman, Omar Shin. Time of 26:59, our first 27-hour finisher at 27 flat, Angela Reynolds. In 27:01, Jennifer Hemmen. In a time of 27. In a time of 27:04, John Thegveresi. In a time of 27:07, John Almeida. In a time of 27:07, at the same time, Shane Teragawa. Blair Howard. In a time of 27:16, Michael Ritchie. In a time of 27:18, Case 27:19, Gary Wang. How many? 14 finishes for Gary. In a time of 27, Eklof. In a time of 27:28, Jesse Wolfgang. In time of 27:29, Brian Corey. In a time of 27:29:53.
That's awesome. Pert. Good job, bro. Great job.
In 27:35, Jared Struck. (27:35) as well behind Jared is Dehan Zibbert. That's probably our first Slovenian finish. I might add that Gregory had a unique honor yesterday to carry the number of a runner that was entered in the race but passed before he could enter the race. And Greg was carrying that number from the start to the finish line in honor of that runner. That time in the history of the race that we've had a runner perish before the start and a runner carried their number in honor of that person not being able to start the event. In 27:36 is Pierluigi Slavera.
That's a good one.
And as well in 27:36 is Donnell Carroll. At 27:37 is Matt Newton. As well at 27:37 is Richie Cunningham. Orangeville. In 27:42, Scott Lawrence. 27:42 behind Scott is Simone Siditira. Siditira? Man, that was Simone. I tried to get it right, buddy. Behind Simone is, in a time of 27:43, is Matt Fletcher. In 27:45, Victor Yang. All right, and we're on to our 27:45 is John Yu.
I hope I got that right.
Zhu, that was another backwards. Zhu Yuan. All right. Another 27:46 finisher is Oscar Hortag from Norway. At 27:48, Robert Weiner. At 27:50, Justin Mayagor. And it's his birthday. It's his birthday. At 27:52, Brandon Parker. And rounding out our 27-hour finishers at 27:54 is Brenda Blinn. All right, we have 2 hours to go. We're up to 28 hours and 27 seconds. That's Kurt Bray. In 22:08 or 28:02:13, Cody Daly. At 28:03, Jim Schneiderma. At 28:05 behind Stewart is Scott McIntyre. Our last 28:05 finisher, Kirsten Scott. At 28:07, Jeff Evison. Right behind Jeff in 2807, Stefan Eady. 2810, Fabrice Perrin. And right behind Fabrice in 2810 was Kirsten Kanar. At 2817, Ko Kwang Kwek. At 2818, Antonio Garcia. At 2818 as well, Brian McKenney. At 2820, Todd Scott. Following Todd at 2821 is Michael Van Riswick. Just taking a quick rest here to line up the buckles with Todd and Matthew and Michael. Yeah, while we're waiting here, if anybody lost any valuables on the race course, like a wallet or a phone or glasses, we may have it up here under the blue tents behind the stage. We're good? All right, we're rolling on. I think we got Michael. And at 2821 is Jeff Calvert. Following Cat at 2823 is Greg Brager. And 2823 behind Greg was Carol O'Hare. At 2829, Pierre Bunch. 2829-20 is Stefano Cassan.
All right, in a time of 28:30, Itaru Fujieda. In a time of 20:30, Tim Crow. In a time of 28:31, Chris Erxel-Ben. In a time of 28:35, Eileen Chisbaranek. 35, Jeff Vaughn. In a time of 28:36, Mansour Zach Hanna. In a time of 28:37.52, Maya Detmer. In a time of 28:39.51, Chalk. In a time of 28:40, Mez. In a time of 28:42.58, Angela Feldman. In a time of 23:43.40, Adam Foley. In a time of 28:46. In a time of 28:46. Time of 28:47. Marcin Kryostol. In a time of 28:48. Amelia Valinsky-Fili. In a time of 28:48.55, Brian Kavanaugh. Capilli. Are we going to do the oldest person? No, I don't call out the oldest male or female.
No, because they are.
In a time of 28:54, Garrett Christensen. In a time of 28:56, Michael.
All right, we're up to the golden hour. At 29:01, Heather Davis. And 29:00, Todd Brown. In 29:05, Kevin Chow. At Crane. In 29:09 as well as Jonathan Amlung. Rhonda Braun. As 20 is Sarah Scazzero. Paul Lavoie. 29 hours and 16 minutes is Soon Chul Kane. 29 hours and 18 minutes, Matthew Dubois. In 29:19, Ercole Lugar. 9 hours and 20 minutes is Lisa Boer. Behind Got it? We just got dialed in with Ercole Lugar. In 20 seconds, Leanne Rive. At Illinois. Behind Paul is Kelly Knopp. 29 hours and 21 minutes. In 29:23 is Melissa Benstead. (23:23:16) Tracy Vogler. Ivanhoff. 23:23:56 Carolyn Parati Lake. 29:23:59 Jim Gowland. At 29:29 Jason Patent. Two more in the 29 and a halves at 29:29:52 John Blankenship. And rounding out our 29 and a half hour finishers, William Jackson.
29:30, Ken Ward. Gringill. Ryan in 29:50, Melissa Vanny. In a time of 29:34, in a time of 29:35, Nathan Hahn. In a time, Paul Reeder. In a time of 29:41, Helen Rolfe. In a time of 29:43, Jenny Goodwin. In a time of 29:43:44, Yawa Buchanan. In a time of 29:46, Stefan Scaboli. 29:47. Steve Trook. In a time of 29:48, Ben Dolezal. In a time of 29:50:51, Derek Smith. In a time of 29:55:11, 55:52, Brent Hetty. 29:58:18. Mark Smith, 55 Henrik Ostlund in a time of 29. Importantly, all those who had the courage to start and explore the edges of their potential. Each of you have written your verse in our Western States history. You are forever a part of it. Thank you.